Welcome to the video presentation, Themes and Narratives of Contemporary Bivocational Ministry. My name is Kris Bentley. I'm a staff person at Lexington Theological Seminary in Kentucky, and since 2014 I've been working with Lilly endowment-funded grant projects at LTS, which have enabled our seminary to conduct research concerning bivocational ministry. In this presentation, we explore some of what we've been learning in our bivocational ministry research at Lexington Theological Seminary. Our research has focused on Christian Church Disciples of Christ ministers serving Christian Church Disciples of Christ congregations in Kentucky who responded to a survey in 2015, as well as some bivocational solo pastors and lay leaders in congregations who participated in interviews in 2016 to 2018. Early on, the research project's advisory team heard from bivocational ministers who expressed the nagging feeling that their work as bivocational ministers was valued less than other forms of ministry. These conversations helped the advisory team perceive how much bivocational ministry had been peripheral to the understanding of ministry, despite its long and honored history reaching back to the Apostle Paul and his co-workers. We began to realize more fully how our own understanding of ministry had relied on a sense of ministers as the pastor professional who can do it all, and as being seminary trained and ordained, then employed with full benefits by congregations as their sole employers. It's not surprising we thought that way, though. Although many ministers were left out of that description, it has functioned as the primary way of thinking and speaking about ministry within the Christian Church Disciples of Christ and other mainline Protestant denominations in North America for some time. Mark Eddington, in his book, Bi-vocational: Returning to the Roots of Ministry, describes this professional who can do it all way of thinking of ministers as the standard model, and explains how much of what we understand related to the church, ministry, and congregational leadership, and the underlying economic arrangements, has been designed around this standard model of ministry. This wholehearted investment in the standard model is unfortunate because this one model of ministry does not fit with the diverse needs of congregational ministry in various contexts. Thankfully, there is more to the story of ministry than one model alone. Congregations in various contexts rely on different models to pursue vital ministry and support those who lead them. Recognizing many stories of ministry alongside one that has become dominant and standardized resists the tendency to submerge distinctive differences and leads to understanding all forms of ministry more fully. In our research, we encountered a diversity of experiences, and several themes emerged from the interviews. Some of these include: 1. Bivocational ministry contributes to financial stability for the pastor and congregation. Also, calls to bivocational ministry are often in response to the congregation's needs and financial limitations. Individuals frequently become bivocational ministers after they are already employed elsewhere. Bivocational ministers often pursue theological education and training for pastoral leadership after they are already serving the congregation. Bivocational ministers are not dependent on the congregation for their livelihood, and this financial independence realigns the minister-congregation relationship. And shared ministry, where lay leaders partner with pastors, is key to successful bivocational ministry. These themes contribute to a more expansive description of bivocational ministry and the diversity of experiences within it. In the interviews at LTS with solo bivocational ministers and lay leaders at the congregations they serve, some primary overarching narratives emerged out of the ways pastors and lay leaders described how bivocational ministry related to the economic challenges they experienced. They all perceived that being bivocational contributed to financial stability, but they interpreted it in different, sometimes overlapping ways. The first narrative, the sign of the times narrative, was heard when pastors and lay leaders interpreted the financial stability related to bivocational ministry primarily as a response to the financial challenge and congregational decline they were experiencing. They understood bivocational ministry to have some benefits, but had pursued it largely due to a sense of scarcity in their context. Guided by this interpretation, some congregations called a bivocational minister for the first time because of budgetary concerns, or their current minister had to find supplemental income through other employment because the congregation could not provide sufficient compensation. In such cases, they hoped for financial relief, but had not yet realigned their way of ministry or their pastoral expectations. Bivocational ministry had extended them a lifeline, but they remained less hopeful about the potential for vital ministry. Some pastors and lay leaders spoke of the cutting edge narrative. This is when they spoke of bivocational ministry as offering a unique chance for transformation, for financial stability, and for missional advantage. They felt they were on the cutting edge of ministry. Some were part of new congregations, which have intentionally called a bivocational ministry as a strategy to jumpstart their new church and help them connect with the surrounding community. However, not all who understand bivocational arrangements this way are new churches. Some are established churches that have caught a vision of new life. They see how realigning financial priorities can reinvigorate the mission and ministry of their congregation and connect them more fully with their community. Some speak of the way we've always done ministry narrative. Some pastors and lay leaders explained that they had been involved in bivocational ministry for decades, sometimes as long as they can remember. They spoke of it as the way we've always done ministry, instead of as a sign of decline or of one that enabled new opportunities. Many of these congregations are located in under-resourced contexts with a history of financial distress due to lower population density, economic and population decline, or because of marginalization that has suppressed their capacity to call and compensate ministers. They have practiced bivocational ministry as a strategy of financial support for ministry that reduces the burden on congregations. And also, some see it as a way their pastors share the financial burden. In response to their context, these congregations have developed traditions and practices of nurturing, supporting, honoring, and sharing the work of ministry with their pastors. Within all three of these overarching narratives, some congregations find ways to make the most of having a pastor who is employed outside the congregation, even alongside financial challenges. These congregations move towards experiencing financial stability, shared ministry, and a sense of hope for the future, despite uncertainty. In our surveys and interviews, we learned from pastors who described their experiences in various ways. Some celebrated that bivocational ministry brought financial independence that empowered them to teach and preach more prophetically. Some explained how working outside the congregation helped them better understand the everyday world in which their congregation members lived. Others expressed their sense of being overwhelmed by challenges facing the congregation and demands on their time and energy in both workplaces. The similarities and differences reveal the importance of learning from those directly involved in bivocational ministry. The diverse congregational contexts and employment arrangements of pastors lead to different experiences and interpretations of bivocational ministry. There are no one-size-fits-all descriptions of bivocational ministry. Thank you for viewing this video presentation. As you consider the information shared in this video, what similarities and differences do you notice among the themes and narratives related to bivocational ministry?